Hello, I'm Rad, the mad editor, some of you, you're dead, and welcome to Rad Quickies. This quicker format seems to be like a DLC for my other thick videos. Though, not that you need their context, please don't leave. It's just a continuation or application of those videos' points in other contexts. But also, now I have deviously put the idea of watching those other videos in your mind, so you're more inclined to consume more of my tasty content. But talking about hot things, I was scrolling Twitter. While usually I either cry, scream, punch my computer screen, or spontaneously combust at Twittertonians' takes, sometimes I can ascend the mortal shell of the soup sloshing in my noggin and engage with shitty Twitter takes on a more intellectual level. I'm making this video to encourage you to not give in to reactionary thinking and mere anger, instead engaging with internet shenanigans honestly and thoroughly. And I have to admit, much of it makes me say, wow, I want to kill myself, but sometimes I get a real the thinker, and this most recent the thinker was boobs. Buckana, I have stopped time so that you may consider liking and subscribing, and perchance supporting me on the Patreon. Arigato, and I shall see you later, gozaimasu. Fuck, this sucks. If it isn't obvious yet, this touches on points I made in my hit video, How to Draw Boobs. But today, it's specifically these boobs. For contextuals, Chiitan is a Japanese mascot who has recently been replying to literally every mention of them on Twitter. And when anything gets popular, tits are inbound. You may find it crass that I focus on the boobs so much, yet it is precisely these jugs that started such heated intellectual discussion. In a now deleted tweet, Twitter user of Twitter replied to this piece saying, I mean this in the nicest way possible. Can we not do this? Not every single thing needs to be sexualized. If you make the "it's the internet" excuse, genuinely you're a fucking loser. It's so incredibly easy not to make everything about porn. The art is good, but literally what compelled you to put tits on Chiitan of all things? Now, this is very interesting. I'm not here to disparage this Twitter wanderer. We do not hate fellow the thinkers. While it's true, generally goon culture is beyond brain rot, I feel like there are a lot of pitfalls this discussion had. To start with, we must get past a couple of very Twitter takes from people discussing this important matter. The first being that this Twitter user also draws porn. First off, the appeal to hypocrisy is always on shaky ground because you're not engaging with what the person is actually saying. They could be a hypocrite, but still right. But also, reducing all lewd content to an equal just porn and ignoring that there can be differences in representation makes it impossible to truly analyze and critique this media form. The second thing we must nip in the bud is the criticism that Chiitan is meant to be a baby otter, so it's unethical to sexualize them. This is very stupid. This is not a sexualization of Chiitan as a character, but making a comedic bit about the fact beneath the crazy chaotic Chiitan costume is a hot woman. Yet we must also admit that while this is comedic in nature, it is also drawn to be engaged with in an awooga way, which leads into a final foolish point, which is the unconsenting sexualization of the person beneath the Chiitan costume. This is not a depiction of any known human being who wears the Chiitan costume. We don't know who they are or what they look like from my knowledge. This piece is more of a what if. What if a nameless hot woman wore the Chiitan costume? Imagine if it was Goku beneath the Chiitan costume. That would not be a Gokufication of the Chiitan wearer. That would be a Goku. This is a wholly unique character designed for this piece. Now that we have gotten rid of the negative cranium Twitter arguments, let us now delve into the deeper rational ponders. We must first grapple with the initial criticism, a critique of rife unnecessary sexualization of characters who get popular. Now, this initial post doesn't make any legitimate criticism. It essentially boils down to, you don't have to do this. Which, sure, neither do you have to go into the middle of a field on a summer's evening, but we have the freedom to do as we wish. But there is an underlying reason why this frustration was expressed and why it resonated with so many. There is a trend of any remotely feminine character design getting over-sexualized on the internet. However, I find the line being drawn here rather odd. Reiterating, this isn't a sexualization of Chiitan's character. It is a wholly new piece making a comedic statement about what if the person below the costume was hot. There are other images where this criticism would be more valid, but this image's sexualization ties into the point of of the image, and there isn't any unique context to this image that makes it worse than other sexualized images. If this is just a critique of the sexualization at all, well, first, I would find it odd this person would have something against it, since that would validate the hypocrisy argument, but putting restrictions on the representation of women's bodies because of an over-sexualization of women by predominantly men is a problem caused by these men, then a limitation put onto women. It's akin to women having to cover up for men's sake. Women should be allowed to be sexual or to simply be revealing, such as in this image, yet we have to be able to see women as more than just their sexuality. As this stands, this makes us see women's sexuality as a form of manipulation. This is overcorrection. It is the gender associations that makes this seem manipulative, not the sexuality. To further illustrate this point, imagine instead a sexy naked oiled man. From experience, I know that piece wouldn't have a feeling of manipulation. Instead, it'd be seen as more comedic, to a point where a sexual element wouldn't even be considered, because generally, we don't take seriously the sexualization of men. I also saw a very interesting point how this piece is drawn as depersonalized, which forces you to treat the character more as a sexual object than a person. And an important aspect of my video How to Draw Boobs was having that personality and soul in the character while also having them be sexual, allowing the sexuality to be a component of character. At first I agreed with this Twittertonian's perspective because the face is obscured, making us have to focus on the body and notably alluring parts like the breast and thighs. I thought on it, and for this piece, a character isn't actually important, as it's based on a concept of a hot woman in that outfit, and thus does not need a fully fleshed out character. Additions of the chiseled abs and sports bra give us at least additional pieces of depth and thought, referencing that the chaotic nature and stunts of Chiitan requires someone of athletic build, which then further contrasts the wide, dopey build we're used to of the Chiitan costume. There is enough personality in this image, and the sexualization is tied to the point of it. And yet, as I scrolled the different esoteric takes of Twitter users on this mildest of drama, I had to grapple with one final reading of the sexualization in this image, which has nothing to do with the image itself. I saw people, predominantly chick marks, giving knee-jerk reactions that I've heard elsewhere. The "stop getting mad," the "touch grass," even though those both could apply to themselves. Calling women females, the "it's just a fictional character," which denies any analyzation of the cultural contexts artists create their work within. The pointing and saying "hypocrite," without engaging with any of the critiques levied. With how much it scoffs at any kind of analysis or thought, I can only assume that they truly only look at the sexual allure of this image. They are defensive of the sexual elements of this image because that is all they see in it. In spite of this having further context to its defense, they don't want you to even read into it because they just want to be able to consume sexual media without regard for personality or representation. Which makes us ask, is there enough personality in this image to overcome the types of people who actively desire to reduce women to sexual objects? And my conclusion is that this image is fine. Its creation is unproblematic, but we should criticize the way our culture, and especially these types of people, treat women's bodies uniquely and objectifyingly. We should focus on having sexualization just be an aspect of something, as opposed to all of the harmful connotations we have with gender's ties to sexualization. And when we draw something sexy and mean it to be alluring, it shouldn't have to just be a woman. We should allow men or anything else to be able to be a representation of something sexy. Basically, be a little more gay. Come on. Pride Month doesn't end until I draw my final breath.